Good morning, community podcasters. We have a special guest this afternoon, and before the weekend. It's before Masters weekend, so I know a lot of people are watching the Masters, but for the ones that aren't, you're in for a treat. So we have our Cobb County DA, who's our special guest. So would you please introduce yourself, like who you are, what you do, and who you serve?
Hi, Pete. My name is Flynn Brody, and I'm the District Attorney of the Cobb Judicial Circuit, and I serve all the citizens of Cobb County. Basically, our role as the District Attorney is to ensure public safety, and we do that through the prosecution of felony-level crimes here in Cobb County.
I love it. And when I first heard you speak at the center, I was like, okay, it really connected with me. And so I wanted to ask, the viewers that weren't there, why did you decide to run for DA? What was the thought behind taking your career to a different level?
Well, for me, criminal justice reform has always been one of my major things that I wanted to accomplish. I initially ran for Congress to hopefully do it through legislation. But at the local level, the district attorney is the one who sets policies when it comes to criminal justice reform. And so I thought that would be the next natural progression for me, being a prosecutor for my entire legal career. And my focus has always been is how do we get the criminal justice system to truly serve out its purpose? And that purpose is to restore offenders back to the community, to help reduce recidivism, and also to make our community as safe as possible. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to become district attorney, because I felt I had some ideas to help everyone, to help us lift people up. And as we know, we lift people, we lift everyone, not just the people we lift, but we lift everybody. And I really felt that I had some policies and some ideas that could really promote that and help everybody here in the county.
Yeah, when I heard you first speak, I was telling you before we came on, I didn't even know who my Cobb County district attorney was. It was like, hey, the DA's going to speak. I went, who is he? So I think for people that, we're busy, we're into our whatever world we're in. What impressed me when I was hearing you share with us that day is your philosophy, like you just covered a little bit, but what shaped that? At what point in your life did you come to that, like, I want to serve and I want to make a difference? What was that like?
Well, I'll give you two instances. One, I was in the fifth grade, and really I was just coasting along in school, just doing the minimum, just doing my work. And then I had this fifth grade social studies teacher give us this project. And at the end of the project, we had to do a presentation about the project and everything. And at the end of that presentation, he actually came up to me and he said, you know what? You're pretty smart. And from that day forward, it changed my mindset about who I was, about how I wanted to attack the world. Because now I said, he thinks I'm smart. So now I got to not only prove to myself that I'm smart, but make sure that I don't let his expectations of me go down. The second part of that is I'd always grew up wanting to be in the military. I spent 26 years in the Army. And I came in the Army at a point in time where you couldn't kick people out of the Army. So you had to do one of two things. Either you had to drag that weight along, or you had to make them a soldier. And what I found out is when you learn about people, when you treat people right, when you focus on helping people, you can do great things with people. And that translates to the criminal justice system. Because for far too long, we have told young men and women that you're a bum, you're a thug, you're this, you're that. And if we just thought about it, if we just use positive words instead of negative words, what a difference we can make in people's lives. And that's what responsible restorative justice is all about. If you can change people's lives to make them say, I want to be somebody better. I want to focus on myself and get better each and every day, then you can really make a difference in not only our community, but just in that individual's life. And I have this saying, I said, we're all in recovery because we're all trying to get better today than we were yesterday. And that's what the definition of recovery is, just trying to be better today than you were yesterday. And if we focus on life, and that means I think we can really help people and we can really make this community thrive even much more than it already has.
Yeah, that's powerful to think that a fifth grade teacher that made one comment to
Yeah.
you changed the way you thought about things and actually changed the trajectory of your mindset to believe in yourself. And that's so, I mean, I think there's a person gave me a book called Mindset by Carol DeWitt, and she talked about a school in Brooklyn that they basically just changed the terminology
Mm-hmm.
from a grade to not yet. Like you would say, like, that was good. You're not yet there,
Right.
but and it just gives the people the thinking, like, not a definitive grade, like you get an F. Okay, I'm a failure. But you're not yet there. You haven't mastered that. And they went from a bottom performer to a top performer in the state by just changing that terminology. And it's kind of crazy that fifth grade, you can remember back to fifth grade, to that point where that teacher believed in you and said that, and that shaped your philosophy for the rest of your current life.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I like to talk to fathers, and I always tell them, your kids model your behavior, but your words have so much power. If you tell your kid they're a knucklehead, you tell them they're a thug, you tell them they're bad, that's who they're going to become. They're going to live up to what your expectations are. If you tell them they're going to be great, you tell them they're great, you tell them they're awesome, they're going to try to live up to that. And sometimes we can put expectations on people that are way too high. But when you fall short of those expectations, you still turn out pretty well. And I think we have to understand as a community, as a nation, that's so critical for us. One of the things I hate more than anything is the way our media portrays certain people. And a lot of people say, well, this is what they think of me, so this is who I am. You don't have to let the media tell you who you are. Allow the people who love you to tell you who you are and live up to those expectations. Raise your own expectations is what you should be doing.
I love it. What when you were running, what obstacle really was a challenging one that you didn't anticipate when all of a sudden you made that decision to impact at a higher level? Was there anything you ran into that you could share with our viewers?
For me, I declared that I was going to run in April of 2019. And shortly after I declared I was going to run, a good friend of mine was appointed this position, someone who I admired and respected very much. And I actually went to her and I asked her, I said, give me a reason why I shouldn't run, because, and I described what brought me to that decision, because for me, I have a strong faith in God. And I had asked, me and my wife had prayed and asked God, is this what you want us to do? And he gave us the answer that, yes, this is what I want you to do, because, I know you'll put in the work to do this. And so when she was appointed, everybody was coming to me, now that she's appointed, are you going to withdraw from the race? And my answer to them was, I can't, because it was not my sole decision to do this. I asked God about this. And I was describing that God has asked me to do this, and I'm not going to let God down. Now, if I don't win, I don't win. But of course I won. And those same people came back to me and said, well, I guess God did tell you this, because at the time, nobody really thought I was going to win, because in the legal field, I had not achieved a status where somebody would say, yeah, he's the next this or he's the next that. But I had the vision and the ideas to promote the things that I thought were going to make our community safe.
Oh, I love that. What do you do? Because we're all in that journey of improving. What do you do on a regular basis that you might be able to share with our viewers? Is there books? Is there things that you will look to really help grow your mindset or your philosophy, or how you how you do things in your everyday life?
I'm a big time Bible reader. I read the Bible on a daily basis, and I take inspiration from it. Anytime I'm in a situation where I need some inspiration, I always ask God, and somehow or some way he puts me in the Bible somewhere where I need to be. And I'm also a big time researcher. I like to research data to see what has worked in other places. because I'm a firm believer in no need in reinventing the wheel. And you do that through research and seeing what has worked somewhere else, how you can twist it and mold that to your situation. So I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a big time listener, because the beauty of having people that work for you, especially smart people, is they have great ideas. And you can't close your mind off to their ideas. You have to listen, because they will help keep you in place. They will give you great ideas, and they can push you forward to places that you've never been. I'm a firm believer in when I have leadership meetings, everybody's allowed to speak their mind. Everybody's allowed to say whatever they want to say, even to the point where if I say something and you think it's a stupid idea, please tell me, and then tell me why you think what we can do better, so we can make the best decision for our office, for our community. So, trusting in God, doing your own research, and listening to others are three of the biggest things that I do to help keep me going forward.
Well, I can kind of see now, as I listened to you share with us that day at the Advocacy Center, it was really a heartfelt message that moved a lot of people. Because as I was saying before, I always ask people like, hey, did you go? What did you think? And things like that. But you mentioned something during that talk about the partnership between our faith community and our private sector, our community. Could you share with our viewers what you were sharing with us that day?
Yeah, I think, and it goes a lot to our recovery. It goes a lot to, placing our faith in a higher power of who we are. I'm a firm believer that God put us all on this planet to help others, not to help ourselves. And I think as a community, we have to take ownership of everybody in our community, no matter where you are. If you live on Six Flags Drive, or if you live in North or East Cobb, we have to take ownership of everybody in our community. And there's an old saying in the Bible. There's a verse in the Bible that says, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. We have to realize that we're the workers that God is talking about. That the harvest is those people that we contact on a daily basis. What are we doing to inspire them to be the best person that they can be? What are we doing to make them disciples of the Lord? What are we doing just to help them fulfill their promise? Because I'm a firm believer that, and I get this from the Army, from that period I was talking about earlier, is that, every person has good in them. Every person can be a superstar. It just takes the right nourishment, the right encouragement, the right teaching and discipline to make it happen. And we when someone fails in our society, we have to take ownership that we are the ones who cause that failure, not them, but us. And that's the way I see the faith-based community and our community working together. Is the faith-based community is all about reaching people, moving people to be good people. The community, that's what we need. We need everybody to be good. How do we help each other to make that happen? And that's what, I'm hoping that's what would drive us in the faith-based community. I'm hoping that we don't look down on people. I'm hoping when people need help, we're there to help them. Because the worst thing we can do is look at somebody and say they're a piece of crap and leave them to waste. Because the truth of the matter, we're all real close to that point. All of us, no matter how much we think, we're all real close to the point where we can hit rock bottom. And I tell people all the time, if you put me in a position where the only way I could take care of my family, to feed them, to house them, to clothe them, was to commit crime because I had no other choice, then that's what I'm going to do. So as a community, that person who gets in that position, we failed them. What can we do to make sure we never have to resort to that? And there's so much interaction between the two that if we don't realize it, that one feeds on the other. If we've got good churches, we should have a good community. If we have a good community, we should have churches that are full of folks. So just those thoughts and those ideas are some of the things that I look at, is the dependability that we have on one another to make sure our community is best it can be.
Yeah, I love that. I was talking yesterday to Aqua, and she was sharing the numbers of seniors, because we have right around 100,000 seniors in Cobb County.
Mhm.
And I'm a kind of a geeky guy. Like you say, you look at the data. I look at the 80-20 rule on everything. I
Mhm.
just kind of, no matter what you do, it always seems to follow that.
Right.
So if we say 100,000 people, there's 20,000 seniors that are kind of needing help,
Mhm.
because let's say 80% are doing okay and they're getting by. What do you think are what resources, what can we do to lift up our 20%? That, because when you get to the end of your life, it's a special time, but it's also can be a frightening time
Yeah.
if you don't have the resources to be able to live the quality of life that you intended to live.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true what you're saying. I love one of the things that we do at Zion Baptist Church. We have sort of an assignment as younger couples. We assign younger couples to elderly couples,
Oh.
and basically you're there to serve as a friend, someone to lean on, someone to help.
Mhm.
The couple that me and my wife have, um, and I'm not going to say their names, but I'll say some of the situations that we've helped with.
Mhm.
Um, One, the husband had got to the point where he's starting to have dementia, starting to put himself in danger when he left the house, to the point where his wife asked me to come over and basically take his car keys.
Mhm.
So I had to come over and talk to him and explain why we were doing what we were doing. And he understood. He fully understood, because he had actually gotten to the car one day, started driving, went to the store, forgot how to get home, and found himself in South Carolina.
Mhm.
Um, that stuff happens.
Yes.
So we had to take his keys. Whenever they need groceries or something, they call us. We go do it for them, because they're in their mid 80s.
Mhm.
So a lot of stuff, it's hard for them to do. You know, if they have to go to a doctor's appointment, they call us. We take them to the doctor's appointment. We do those things for them to help them get through this period, um, because it's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard. All your life you've been so independent, and now
Yes.
you're getting to that point where that independency can get you in trouble, can get you hurt. So you need somebody who you can trust to help you. So that's one of the things our church does, and I would recommend that churches do that, because
Mhm.
one, for me and my wife, this is a long-term married couple. So we get so much wisdom and guidance from them. It's just unbelievable. And to see the things that the Lord has taken them through gives us inspiration, that we know when we get in hiccups and we get in situations that we're going to make it through by trusting in our faith. Um, but it helps them, because now they have somebody they can depend on to do these little things that they know they probably could do, but putting themselves in danger makes it worse. And why take the chance when you got somebody that can help you? So I'm very appreciative that our church does that,
Mhm.
because lots of times when we get to that age, and we're in a mobile society now, our kids aren't always around to help us. And that's the situation they're in, that their kids are not, or they have kids, but their kids are out of state. So their kids are not there to come and do those things for them. So we serve that role. And I'm thankful for that, because trust me, it's been just as much of a blessing to me and my wife as I think we've been a blessing to them. The other thing is, I love how Cobb County has their senior service centers,
Mhm.
um, to give them a opportunity to have some place to mingle, to talk, to
Mhm.
just to socialize. Because one of the biggest downfalls for seniors is when you isolate yourself.
Yep.
Um, that's one of the biggest causes of dementia and Alzheimer's, is you don't have that daily talk and engagement with others. So I love the fact that we have these senior centers that do that. I love the fact that at our Family Advocacy Center, one of the things that we um, treat is and help is elder abuse.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot of different things that we here in Cobb County that are blessed, understanding that we have a population that's ever aging. We probably have more, as a percentage, we probably have more seniors in Cobb County than anywhere. So I'm glad our commissioners look at that. The fact that we have, removing of property tax at the age of 62. That's phenomenal, because that's one of the hardest things when you get on that fixed income and these taxes continue to go up.
Yep.
You start losing money big time, and so there's a lot of things that we do here that help out the community, and I'm thankful for that. For us, we've actually started putting together a newsletter to alert of scams that seniors have. There's a group that actually does technology for seniors, which I think is awfully critical, because we are actually doing a town hall, and one of the seniors was asking to get on a newsletter list, and the person said, "Well, send me your email," and the senior said, "Well, I don't use email. I want you to send me a newsletter in the mail."
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that, as we've aged, technology doesn't always keep up with it, or everybody doesn't always keep up with technology. So we have to understand that we have to account for that in our daily lives.
Yeah, that I've told at least 50 people what that town hall example you just gave, and it's so we'll have people in a directory and their email, the list on the email is blank because they don't have an email,
right?
And they just over here said, "Well, we're not going to deliver the paper email anymore. We're just going to email it to you." I'm going like, "Hey, we don't even have email."
Exactly.
So I mean, it's like there is a disconnect between the digital world and the world that we grew up in, that we like to touch and feel things. We like to see something, a book, a card, just some kind of printed thing that we can look at. There was a gentleman, he was 87, and I would always see him when I'd go down to the gym real early. The first thing he would do is go get his paper. And that was because, and I talked to his daughter the other day, and that he just had to be able to, that was his release to actually see what's going on, because he spoke 7 languages, was in the CIA, had an interesting story when I would talk to him. But he would take a beeline to get that paper at 4:30 in the morning. It was like, and you see how much they cherish the printed part. And we can't always just say, just go online, look at it online. Hey, they don't even go online. They don't do that. That's not the world they live in. What would you say? I want to draw some attention to the Family Advocacy Center. What was the thought behind that when you were kind of putting that concept and getting that off the ground? So what were you trying to accomplish?
Well, the big thing for me, I grew up in a home of domestic violence. My father was pretty abusive. And I used to always wonder why my mom never left, why my mom never called the police, why all these things happened. And I lost my mom. She was only 54 years old when she died. And so when I first became a prosecutor, one of the first things I did was I went to a domestic violence conference and started trying to learn the ins and outs of what domestic violence was all about. And as we started up the Family Advocacy Center, we found out that all across the country, wherever these things were, and Georgia was only one of 4 states that didn't have them, is that there was a reduction in domestic violence, a reduction in domestic violence fatalities, just an overall reduction in child trauma because they were removed from them situations. And when we think about crime, child trauma is one of the perfect indicators of somebody that's going to become a future criminal. And so if we can reduce domestic violence, we can reduce child trauma, we can reduce domestic violence fatalities, we can make a big difference in our community. And domestic violence is one of those hidden crimes. Most victims don't report it till the 8th time they've been abused. And then they don't report it till it's the first time that they felt that this person was actually going to kill them. And sometimes we're not lucky enough to see that there's a pattern, and that first time is boom, they kill somebody. And Cobb County has had a problem. We had a big spike in domestic violence during COVID. We had 12 domestic violence deaths last year, 10 the year before that, 12 the year before that. So we really needed something in place to help victims get away from their abusers. And that's what the Family Advocacy Center does. It allows them to have a place that they can go to get the resources that they need, whether it be housing, whether it be a job, whether it be childcare, whether it be food, to get the things that they need that they are so dependent on that abuser for, that they neglect or won't leave, because if they do, they know they won't have these things. And most times, if they do it early enough and that abuser truly loves them, they're going to fix themselves. They're going to help them. They're going to help themselves get better so that they can get away from abusing folks. And so that's why it was so critical for me, because I had lived through this. I knew what it was all about, and I was lucky enough to overcome this. Just just based on the grace of God, because one of the things that I grew up hearing from my mother was that I was just like my effing father. And so I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that I was not him. And when I got married, I can recall that there was one time, when I made sergeant's like a whole different world in the military.
Mm-hmm.
When you make sergeant, you think you're God's gift to the world, because now people have to do what you tell them to do. And one day I came home and I was talking to my wife, and she stopped me and she said, "Don't talk to me like you talk to your soldiers." And I realized I was becoming my dad.
Yeah.
And I immediately enrolled myself in counseling, because I did not want to progress to what he had become. I say these things about my dad, but I have to say this too. I guess my dad was 70 years old. He started having a series of strokes, and so I had to start taking care of him. He was non-ambulatory, so I had to do everything for him, wipe his butt, all that stuff. But I actually got a chance to sit down and listen to him and talk to him. Found out how he fell in love with my mom, found out more than anything how he grew up. And as bad as a dad he was to me, he was 100 times better a dad than he had growing up.
Wow.
And so I had to forgive him for the things that I went through, because he was giving me better than what he had. And sometimes we have to understand that. And as adults, we have to realize that child trauma damages so many kids.
Yep.
I mean, kids are more prone to drop out of school. They're more prone to enter the criminal justice system. They're more prone to use drugs because of child trauma. And so that's why the Family Advocacy Center was so important to me. I can remember me and my wife facilitated a small Bible study group. And I was talking about the Family Advocacy Center one day, and one of our members was listening. Her and her husband were listening. And then the next day, she called my wife and told my wife that she was filing for divorce. And she told us, she said, you guys probably never wondered why me and my husband would be on two separate screens, while all the other couples were always on the same screen. And they would be on two separate screens. And she told us because he would just be on beat my A and gone upstairs or whatever, and we'd be on two separate screens. But what your husband said to me was, he was describing what I have been going through, and I knew if I didn't get out of this situation, that sooner or later he would kill me. That's how powerful the work of the Family Advocacy Center is. It's going to save lives. It's going to reduce childhood trauma. And in doing that, it's going to make our community better and stronger, and going to give some kids a chance at life.
Yeah, that I'm a firm believer. I agree 1,000%. And it's so important to have that safe place. We talk about, I'm in a class called Safe People, but the whole thought is people have to be safe.
Yes.
And if they know that the center can be that safe place, they have the confidence to make the change that is needed to get to a safe place.
Right.
But if there isn't a safe place, they're trapped.
Yeah.
And that's where, the outcomes are not good. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and I promised that I would keep 30 minutes. So I want to keep my promise. So tell our viewers, how can they get, I know it's on the screen, but there are people that listen. So tell us how they can get a hold of the Advocacy Center and what would be the number to call.
If you're in need of services, just go. You don't have to have an appointment or anything like that. You can go to 277 Fairground Street and walk in the door, and they can help you. And that's for people who are suffering from domestic violence, elder abuse, child trafficking, sexual assault, any victim of crime. And you can do this without having to report the person who committed the crime. And we did that on purpose because a lot of people don't want people going to jail. But you got to get away from your abuser, because I guarantee you, if you continue to allow the abuse, it's going to get worse. If you need to call, you can call 770-528-8121. And they will answer the phone from 8 to 5 every single day, Monday through Friday. We don't have the funding and the staff to be able to house it any longer than that. But when they're there to provide services for you and get you the help that you need. And we call it a one-stop shop. If you go there, they're going to listen to your story, and all the people that you need, all the resources that you need. At that point, they're going to bring them to you, so you're not trying to go all over town trying to get what you need. So I encourage you, if you're a victim of abuse or if you're a victim of crime, that's the place to go. Cobb County's Family Advocacy Center, 277 Fairground Street.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being with us. And I like to always close with, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on the podcast today?
That there's help. If you need it, there's help. Seek the help that you need, especially for your mothers who have children. Every day you allow your child to sit or go through childhood trauma, you're damaging them. You're putting them at a disadvantage of who they could be one day. For me, the day my mom and dad got a divorce was the happiest day of my life. And it made such a difference for me because I knew I was not going to have to go through that anymore. And so please seek the help that you need. Take care of your children, and let's do the right thing at all times.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate our time with our viewers, and thank you for sharing what's going on in the county and the resources and the philosophy of the impression and the impact that you're making. We want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate what you do and continue to help our seniors because they are our most vulnerable people in our community. And we want to make sure that the years that they have, that they live the best life.
I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you.